You can die accidentally, but you can afford to live accidentally. You need to have a design as you go about your life. So I'll give you 5 simple tips on how you can design your life and design your career better. The first tip which I would like you to keep in mind is that career is not a linear trajectory. My father retired from a government service, which he worked for 42 years of his life, which is technically the maximum that one could work. I could only survive for 6 years in an organization, and thereafter I decided to start my own company. And many of you would be switching at least 10 jobs throughout your life, if not in the very first decade of your career. Which means that career is not a straight line. Career is a series of S-curves. And that's very important, that think of career as a portfolio of enterprise and life as a portfolio of career. So think like a portfolio and not a career. It is a bunch of careers together. It's the first important thing in terms of the future of work. The future of work will not be where you join a company and retire from the same company. The future of work is about thinking of career and life as a portfolio. That's the first thing. The second thing is to be a hourglass shaped career. What I mean by hourglass shaped career is in your 20s and 30s, you need to be a generalist. Try to learn as much as possible about as many fields as possible, and don't try to be a specialist. I think you should try to be a specialist only at the age of 40, not before that. So the first 20 years of your life, be a generalist, then be a specialist in your 40s and perhaps in your 50s, and then once again in your 60s, be a generalist. So that is how your career has to be, like an hourglass. Generalist, specialist, and then again generalist. Advanced or super specialization does not have much of a value in the era of ChatGPT and AI. In AI world, what you need is a range. You should be able to talk about a whole host of topics, talk about a whole host of dimensions, and not be very exclusive or being very, very specific. That's extremely critical for all of you. That's the second insight. The first insight is think of your career as a portfolio. The second insight is think of your career as an hourglass shape. The third important thing is entrepreneurship. Frankly speaking, of the thousands of students sitting before me, I am very confident that not all of you will get a job. Many of you may not get the job if you're liking, even if you get one, which means you have to shift from the era of finding jobs to creating jobs. And not only a job for yourself, but also for the people around you. And that is where we need entrepreneurship. If I go to about 200 years back, we did not have a concept of job. Job as a concept came after the invention of the steam engine, where 24 hours of day got divided into 3 shifts of 8 hours each, and as a result, people got employed. But 200 years back, people had only 3 professions. The first profession people had was entrepreneurship, the second was agriculture, third was artisanship. There was nothing fourth. Either you are a farmer, or you are a trader, or you are an artist. Suddenly we have got something called a job. And we have got business schools, we have got colleges, we have schools which are industrialized to produce people who can work in an 8-hour job. But 100 years from now, again, jobs will be ceasing to exist. 100 years from now, we'll again have the same 3 things: entrepreneurs, artists, and farmers. That's what we need today: entrepreneurs, artists, and farmers. So I would like you to start thinking about like an entrepreneur. Many people ask me, the students typically ask me, that what's a good time to start a business? Should I start a business immediately after my graduation? The answer is no. Never start a business immediately after your graduation. You should work. At least for 5 years, try to work. When you work for 5 years, you realize something about you, that are you good with managing teams? Are you okay in delegating responsibilities? Are you able to think big, and are you able to look at minute details? 5 years of your life, give it to somebody, work somebody, make mistakes at somebody else's money, and then you start your company. As a matter of fact, the research at MIT, Massachusetts, says that the successful age of entrepreneurship is not 20s, it's not 30s, it is 41. So if you don't become successful by the age of 41 in your company, don't be worried. You are in a fantastic company. So the third insight is to think like an entrepreneur. Now, how do you think like an entrepreneur? You think like an entrepreneur by finding opportunities around yourself. You see, in a country like India, we have tons of problems. You need to identify which problem are you better able to solve than anybody else. That's the third thing. So once again, just to make you realize why we're here, the first is about think of your career as a portfolio. The second thing is think of your career as an hourglass. And the third thing is think like an entrepreneur. Thinking like an entrepreneur does not mean that you have to run a company. You can think like an entrepreneur even when you are inside a company, which means that entrepreneurship is not a way of life. It is a professional choice. It's how you go about thinking on a daily basis that can I be an entrepreneur. I think the Prime Minister of India is an entrepreneur. Even though he may be getting salaries from Government of India, but he thinks like an entrepreneur. I think Mr. Jaishankar, the External Affairs Minister, he is an entrepreneur. When he goes to United Nations, he talks about Russia and China and America in the same flow. He is entrepreneurship. The fourth insight which I would like to offer to you is the importance of innovation. Innovation is about coming up with a new idea and taking the idea to the market. And that is what distinguishes innovation from creativity. Creativity is about generating an idea. Innovation is about commercializing that idea. And in our country, we have no dearth of ideas. Thanks to Google and ChatGPT, even more so. But what we need in this country is the ability for people to take risk. Not risk of driving bike without helmet or a car in the middle of the night after being drunk. The risk of taking your idea to the market and betting on your idea, and more importantly, betting on yourself. And I think institutions like these allow you to take risks, because when students organize events at that scale, 10 things can go wrong. They have to bear with a person like me who may be asking for a filter coffee in Pune, and the person still has to get this jostled somewhere. And that is a risk, a micro risk, while you are still scoring marks. So the fourth aspect is about innovation. Generating an idea is not sufficient by itself. You need to have the proclivity, the ability, and the courage to take the idea to the market. And the last thing is putting it all together. And the important thing which I would like to offer to you, which I think we miss in this country a lot, is the importance of discipline. Unfortunately, in a country like India, we reduce discipline to punctuality. While I'm terribly happy that we started on time, and I'll also be surprised if I am able to finish my talk on time, but more importantly, discipline is not punctuality. Punctuality is discipline for yourself. Discipline is discipline in general. That's the difference. And I'll give you a simple definition of what is discipline. At 6 in the morning, your alarm goes off, and instead of going to the treadmill, you go back to the bed. That is lack of discipline. Right now, there is a pastry waiting for you in the dinner or the lunch. You said to yourself that you not eat the pastry, and you still eat the pastry. That is lack of discipline. You promise that you will read a book every week, and you fail to read the book. That is lack of discipline. In our country, we don't need creativity. We need discipline to do what with creativity needs to be done. And that is a feature between Japan, Germany, India, Israel, South Korea, and a couple of other countries. Remember, Germany lost the First World War. Germany lost the Second World War. Japan lost the Second World War. There are 2 atomic bombs dropped on it. And yet both Germany and Japan are ahead of India in terms of GDP. The total population of Japan is lesser than population of Karnataka and Tamil Nadu put together. The total population of Germany is less than the population of Maharashtra. And yet they are ahead of us. It's because of discipline. To sum it all up, guys, I'll not take much of your time. The 5 things which I would like you to think very sincerely about your career, more than about my career. The first is think of life as a portfolio of careers, and a career as a portfolio of enterprise. You can never have one career. You have to have a careers. Some will give you money, some will give you happiness, some will give you recognition, some will give you friends, some will give you learning. First thing. Second is hourglass. Generalist, specialist, generalist. Don't try to be a specialist in your 21, 22, 23. Be a specialist at 41. Till 20, you should try every possible thing. Make mistakes, because on your deathbed, you will not trouble yourself with what you did not do as much as what you did. The third thing is the importance of being an entrepreneur. I am an entrepreneur right now. I run a consulting company, and believe me, I've never been happier. When you are an entrepreneur, every win and loss goes against your own name, and you should be an entrepreneur. At least think like one. The fourth thing is your ability to take an idea to the market. It doesn't matter good, bad, ugly. Take it to the market, take a feedback. Not with a PPT, with a real product. And the last thing is the importance of discipline. Discipline is not being on time. Discipline is about taking the tough choice. Whenever life gives you a fork on the road, easy choice and the tough choice, if you take the tough choice, That's what discipline is all about. So thank you so much. I'll be around if you have any questions, and Jai Hind.